Hi, I'm Jason, and this is my friend Rob. Rob and I have been friends for over 23 years when we met in business school. We wanted to take a moment and put this video together because a lot of people have been asking us about AretaCare. A lot of our friends and family have begun using AretaCare, and we want to let people know the history behind it, why we built it, and what families are using it for to help loved ones. Rob has been hammering me on artificial intelligence for over 10 years. And so I've been a top user of ChatGPT now for years. Rob's a top user. So what happened is my mom had surgery back in October of last year. She had some complications, ended up in the hospital. There was tremendous confusion with my family on what was going on. We were trying to coordinate with all the nurses and the doctors, and I ended up just getting a plane and flying down to see her in early November. When I showed up, I walked in a hospital room where my mom was had an NG tube down her nose. It was midnight, it was quiet, and didn't really understand what was going on. A nurse came in and started giving instructions that contradicted what I heard. I stayed in the hospital. I slept next to my mom. And as nurses and doctors came in, I woke up. I tried to coordinate everything. I started using ChatGPT to ask questions. I started taking pictures of the whiteboard and medications. I started recording conversations with doctors just to try to make sense of what was going on. I also have two siblings that live nearby. So we were all trying to coordinate together. Maybe I would leave the hospital, one of my siblings would come in, but then we'd have to coordinate what we had heard, what had happened. And so this meant that everything was coming to us in fragments. Different nurses would come in with different instructions. We were confused. There's a lot of jargon. So, language I certainly don't understand. I have no medical background. And so, just wondered how can we take all this information, consolidate it, coordinate it, and make sense of it to help us make better decisions and, frankly, help reduce the stress level and help my mom. And so, when I got back, I called my friend Rob up and said, Rob, can we build something to help my family, to help my mom? And given his background, he said yes. And so that's basically how we created AretaCare. I'm going to hand it over to Rob. He's going to walk through AretaCare and show the features and practice. While he's doing that, I'll likely jump in and provide real world examples of how my family uses AretaCare every day.
Thanks, Jason. So before I get into the demo, a couple of things that just come up on a regular basis. Often, Jason and I are both asked, "Hey, why wouldn't I just use ChatGPT for something like this?" And one of the things is, I think some of this will become clear in the demo, but this is fundamentally we're trying to solve a different problem than ChatGPT. I think Jason and I we got our end of year reports. We're both in the top 1% of ChatGPT users. We love it. It's a wonderful platform. The challenge isn't though that we don't have access to medical record information or we don't have access to a expert doctor. That's just not the problem we're trying to solve. What we're trying to do is what Jason articulated, which is you have lots of specialists involved. You have family members that are in and out of the hospital. You have tons of documents that are coming to you. They may be sent via email, or they're pictures that you took while you were in the hospital. And so you just have all of this information. At its core, AretaCare is a tool to help you organize and manage really complex situations like that. So, look, if you have a virus or you have a rash and you just want to get a quick answer of what the heck's going on, ChatGPT or there's a bunch of tools out there that are great. If you have something that has just become all consuming in your life and you just need something to help keep everything organized, give you a way of orchestrating across everybody that's involved, that's why we built AretaCare and that's why AretaCare exists. The way that I'm going to do the demo is I'm going to walk you through an example of how to use a AretaCare. And I'm going to do this from scratch. I'm not going to kind of show you stuff that's pre-rehearsed. I'm not going to kind of walk you through pre-baked information. I'm going to just start like you would if you were to log into a AretaCare. And I'm going to start with the basics. And over time, I'm going to show you the more advanced functionality. Don't be overwhelmed. There's a lot here. The kit platform, even in the last month and a half, has grown in capabilities. It's extremely powerful, but you can also use AretaCare in a very simple way. And so I'm going to just kind of build up as you go. And if you get to a point where it feels like it's too much, don't feel like you have to use everything I'm going to show you. So first thing is I'm going to just log in. And when you log into AretaCare, the very first thing that you're going to see is this conversation page. This is the heart of AretaCare and how you engage with the platform. You could use AretaCare and never leave this page. There's a lot of other capabilities, there's a lot of other features, but if you just went through the entire process and using AretaCare and never did anything, off of this page, you would be fine. You get a lot of value out of it. And so this is the central hub for how to use AretaCare. Now, in here, the question that we often get is just where do I even start? Thing that to know is AretaCare is arranged around sessions, and I would tend to think about sessions as people. So I don't know, Jason, what do you refer to your session?
No, I just name them. So we've got a mom session. I've got one for my son. I've got one for me right now. So we've got three
Okay.
sessions and they're named after people.
What I'm going to do here is I'm going to just give an example of being admitted to the hospital, or I've just gone to the ER for a broken leg. So I'm going to just type into the box here, um, I to the ER with a broken leg. And I'm going to submit that. Now, one thing you're going to notice with AretaCare is the AI takes a little time to respond, and that is by design. Anytime you do stuff with AI, you have a choice. You can use small models that are pretty fast, they're cheap, there's a lot of benefits to them, or you can use the really big models that are expensive, can handle more information because what we care about is accuracy. We care about it being as helpful as possible. We care about it being able to process as much information as possible. By default, we use the most powerful and expensive models because that's what we care about. And just for your knowledge, I said Jason and I are fans of ChatGPT. The model behind this is the same as ChatGPT. It's GPT 5.2. It is the exact same AI model. So you're not sacrificing anything in terms of
Which we
the,
just
yeah.
updated, Rob, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we've updated even since we've built the AretaCare. We're planning on continuing to update as the technology improves.
Yep. You can see here in the response that AretaCare is focused on how do you get the most out of the situation. So I just told it I was admitted to the ER with a broken leg. I haven't told it anything else. And what you're going to see is it's not AretaCare won't provide health advice. It's not going to tell you what that rash is. It's not going to tell you anything that's medical advice. What it's going to do is help you get the most out of the interactions that you have with your the healthcare system. So right off the bat, you can see that it's giving you some advice of what to tell the ER team. How it happened. Do you have any pain? Do you have medications, allergies? So typically you would have already been asked about these things, but if you haven't, it's telling you, hey, you should let them know this information. It's also giving you some initial questions to ask about the condition you have. Is it displaced or open? Is this potentially going to be a splinter, a cast? Do I need to see orthopedics? So it's just giving you some basic questions to ask them so that you can get the conversation started. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just answer some of these questions that it asked. And let's say though that you just don't really want to type into the system. You'd rather just, speak. It's sometimes just easier to record audio versus sit there and type everything in. And so what we give you the ability to do is down at the bottom, you'll see a microphone. And if you click on that microphone, you can record audio. So I'm going to just answer some of these questions verbally. So I haven't found out what bone is broken or any of those details. They just have asked me to keep my leg elevated, and I'm sitting in the waiting room, waiting to speak to somebody from orthopedics and to get a more detailed assessment of what's going in. It's my left leg. I'm not really sure. It's like the shin area that I think is broken, but I just don't really have a lot of details right now. All right. So as you can see there, I just babbled whatever was on my mind. I don't need to sit there and think really carefully about what I tell the AI. I can just say exactly what's going on. And you can see that it will just take what I said and it'll put it into a message for me. And then the AI will respond to that. And that audio feature is, I think, a really good way to interact with the platform. Maybe Jason, I know this is something you use quite a bit.
Yeah, so what's happened within the last few weeks, my mom is improving. She still have a long way to go. She's still in the hospital, but we got her finally signed up to AretaCare. So now this is her favorite function. She can just pull it up anytime she wants. She can ask a question, she can give it information, and if a doctor or a nurse, anyone comes in, she can record that discussion with them, upload it, and we'll get in later. But there's a collaboration function. So that means all of us can see it in our family. And it's been a game changer now that my mom actually can use AretaCare and it's basically part of her daily routine.
All right. So you can see it's giving some additional information here. And one of the things it's saying is, hey, have you had an x-ray yet? Or, what is the plan to get an x-ray? So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to upload an x-ray. And this is just an x-ray found on the internet. This is not my actual x-ray. I'm just going to upload that and say, here's my x-ray. And what it's going to do is it's going to upload that image, and you'll see it here appear in a second. And then it's going to receive that information and give you some advice. You can upload PDF documents, you can upload images, you can upload different information into AretaCare, and it will keep that information as part of the record. And as you go through the interactions, it'll have the ability to reference that. So what it's going to do is once it has the X-ray, it will come back with some initial thoughts on next steps. It says, it's lower left leg appears to be fibia tibia, could be fibia tibia. It's not going to give you a specific diagnosis, though. This is not your radiologist. So it's going to give you some questions to clarify. Is it tibia only, or is it tibia and fibia? It's going to give you some of these different questions to ask. And you can see this is how AretaCare works. You could never leave this page again, that you could just do everything in this conversation window. And there's a lot of value in AretaCare. And I'm going to show you some of the more advanced features, but this is kind of the hub. Now, you'll see up here in the corner, it says Show Daily Digest. If you click on that, it says there's no Daily Digest yet because it hasn't been 24 hours. What the Daily Digest is it will tell you reminders and it will tell you questions for your care team. And it generates once a day at the beginning of the day. And it takes into account everything that's happened since your last Daily Digest. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to force it to generate one. So even though it hasn't been 24 hours yet, I'm going to tell it that I want a Daily Digest. And this is, you can think about this as just the things to think about in that current day. So you can see here that I had told it that they told me to keep the leg elevated. So it's going to give me some basic reminders here that of things to keep in mind. And it's also going to summarize the things to ask my care team. So instead of you having to go back in your chat history and go back and read everything that's done, once a day, AretaCare is going to create this daily digest, and that daily digest can help just recenter you, refocus you on, what are the things going on and what do you need to be focused on. And so, Jason, I
Yeah.
know you do this,
No, I mean
use
this
this
is
quite a
this is
bit.
a non-negotiable. So I think I mean Redicare is only not even 2 months old, and I've been every day. This is the go-to. So when I start my day, go in, get the daily digest. I have a basic group email with my family members. I paste this on, send it to everyone. So when everyone starts their day, they know exactly what's going on with my mom. They know what we need to turkey, we need her medication, her discharge potential, and questions to ask the doctors. It's an absolutely invaluable. And as Rob said, throughout the day, as we're updating it, we don't need to worry about remembering anything anymore. If my mom leaves a voicemail, if I upload a document, if my sister takes a picture of a medication or the whiteboard image, it's all getting included. And that way it'll all be consolidated and we will all be on the same page as we start every day.
That's great. And so I showed you over on the side panel, the Daily Digest also shows up in a Daily Digest view. So when Jason was talking about copying and sending in an email, he
All
was
right.
talking about you can just copy it here. You can also edit it. So if there's something that you want to edit you don't like, you can do that and edit it directly and then copy that new version. You can also, if it generates something and you're like, I think the AI could do better, you can just hit delete and regenerate, and it will regenerate the plan for you. And all of your daily digests are going to be captured here on the side. So this is the one for today. Every time you have one, so you can go back and look at past daily digests. All that information is going to be available to you. And again, this is all done behind the scenes. There's nothing that you need to remember to do. You don't need to tell the AI to generate your daily digest. You don't have to remember all of this. It will just do it on its own every morning. After the first 24 hours, it'll generate one of these daily digests and be available to you. If you step away from AretaCare for a month, it's not going to generate 30 daily digests. It will only do it when there's new activity. So if you step away for a month because maybe something got better and then you come back and now you're back into having to navigate the healthcare system, the daily digest will restart. So it will adjust based on how you're using it. So those are the core features. And again, if you use nothing else, hopefully those are valuable to you. What I'm going to cover next are some of the more advanced features. And by advanced, I don't mean complicated. What I mean is they just give you more control over what's happening behind the scenes and allow you to use the tool even more. So while we were having those conversations in the conversation window, what was happening during that is the AI was creating a care journal. And what the care journal is every time that you have an interaction, whether that's you upload a document, you record some audio, you type a message into the chat or into the conversation window, the AI is going to create a summary of what happened during that interaction. And it'll organize it by day and keep track of all that information. You can think about this as not just the AI's memory, but also your memory.
Hmm.
So if you want to go back, you can go back and see medical updates, treatment changes, appointments. You can go back and search that. You can also just look for information. So if I wanted to just see, hey, what was the stuff on that X-ray? I could just search for that and get just the X-ray view there. You're also the one of the core tenets of AretaCare is that you are in control of all the information. Everything that's in here, you can edit it, you can change it. So if you read through this and you're like, oh, I also had something that I forgot to mention when I was admitted, I had some other detail, you can come in here and you can just type your own information into there. And or if the date is different, like maybe you recorded this, but your admission date wasn't really the 10th, it was the 9th, you can go in and you can change all of that. Or if frankly, it's just easier to do directly. If you don't want to sit there in the chat window and tell it that you have an appointment coming up, you can just come in here and say, I have an appointment. You can select that. You can select the date of your appointment and you can enter it into the care journal. Whatever you put into the care journal, this is just the memory of the system. So whenever you ask something in the conversation window or you do anything in a Care, the AI system is going to reference this care journal for the context around what you're doing. The other two things that are related to stuff that I've already shown. One is the document manager. So whenever you upload something in the conversation window, and so you can see the X-ray that I upload earlier, the AI will generate a short description of what that document is, so that you can search for it later and you can edit it, just like everything else in AretaCare. If you want to edit that description, you can do that. And if you want to see that later, you can preview things and you can download them. You can also delete it. If you just mistakenly upload something or you upload it and you're like, I wish I hadn't uploaded that. If you hit delete, it'll delete the document, it'll delete the journal entry. That will just get wiped out of the AretaCare information. So this document manager is used to manage all the different documents and images. Now, you can upload documents in conversation. You can also upload directly here. So I've got discharge instructions. Again, these are just sample ones, random ones I found on the internet. I'm going to upload these discharge instructions. And when you upload documents to AretaCare, it is going to go through, it's going to read those, it's going to look at any images in the information, it's going to organize that information for you and it will save it, but it will also create care journal entries and it'll create all the different pieces of information that you might want to reference later from that document. You don't have to wait for it to upload. If you've got places to be, you don't have to sit here waiting for the progress bar and the AI to finish its analysis. You can close this, you can log out, you can go back to conversation, you can do whatever you want. It'll finish and do this in the background if you don't want to wait for it to finish. But I'm gonna wait for it to go through and upload these documents. And Jason, I don't know the count, but you have hundreds of documents at this
Yeah, no, I
point.
think I think the documents, this is probably where I spend almost all my time, not all my time, a ton of time, because if you think about when you get discharged from the hospital, there's hundreds of pages that the hospital has, and most patients have no idea. You can just send them a letter with a driver's license and a signature, and they'll send you that document. Now you can upload it. And I'm with Rob. I think most everyone in the medical professional is trying, they're doing their best, but people make mistakes. And so we have had situations where they've wanted to, for example, remove my mom's PIC line where she's getting her antibiotics, and they don't read the document. And by having the document uploaded, I can just go back to the conversation tab that Rob showed at the beginning and say, when is my mom's PIC line supposed to be removed? It gives you a date and you're done. You just go to the medical team. You've got, my mom's been at multiple hospitals, maybe 10 different doctors. And so there's tremendous confusion, which is understandable. But when you have all the documents under one place, it actually helps the medical team. They don't want to make mistakes. You can actually help them and guide them and show them where the instructions came from and the logic behind them. So the document manager is something that we use nonstop with my family.
And you can see on these as it's creating it, you can preview and download Jason's point. If you've uploaded documents, those are available to you, so you can download those later. You'll also see anytime that you upload it, it's going to create a care journal entry. So you can see all this information that it extracted from the document in order to help you navigate. And in that document manager view, you can search for different types of documents. The AI again will automatically label these. So it labeled the X-ray and imaging report. It labeled the discharge instructions as care instructions. To Jason's point, if you have hundreds of documents that you're accumulating, this is just one way to kind of keep them
And
organized.
let me add to that too, Rob, because sometimes you just, again, you have the document and then the care journal will provide a synopsis. Sometimes you want to upload the document directly to the conversation because then it will look at everything and you can ask questions directly on the document. The other piece I'll mention is while I was been working with my mom, I was using ChatGPT, but it times out.
One of the things Jason just mentioned is the fact that the information is accessible in the conversation window. And so I upload those discharge instructions in the document manager, but that's still available in this window. So if I say, let's say, what was my UCLA doctor's name? You're meeting lots of people. You may not be able to keep
No.
everybody straight. So because that information is in the memory of the AI, it will know who that is. This is the doctor that was in the discharge instructions. And you can say, what's his number?
Yep.
And again, this was something that was in the discharge instructions. And
And this has been
so
massively helpful, Rob, for my family because you think about all the different doctors and nurses and hospitals. There's so much information and exactly what we're doing. We just did this the other day with my brother-in-law. He had a question. We just typed it in and it gave us all the information for one of the infectious disease doctor that my mom's working with.
that's great. And so you can get that information. So anything that's in AretaCare, I keep coming back to this conversation window because this is where you can just access everything that's in here and help navigate what's going on across AretaCare. One other feature I'm just going to show here is the health profile. And this is a newer feature that we added. And the reason that we added this is, we've now been dumping a lot of information into AretaCare. It obviously has some idea of who you are and what's going on. And so if I click health profile, what it's going to do is it's going to try to create a summary of everything that it knows about you and your situation right now. And so it's got an X-ray, it's got some information on the discharge information. So you can see here, it thinks I'm the patient because I've been talking about this is me. It has identified a healthcare provider from my discharge instructions. So this is the doctor. It's got the doctor's information, where they're from, in the healthcare provider. It has the information about what's happened and any diagnoses that have occurred, any medications. It would have extracted that from the discharge information and any events that have occurred. And so it will do its best to generate based on what you've told it. You can edit this, so every one of these sections is editable. If you want to, in this case, it has a tibial and fibular fracture. If there was something else that was diagnosed, you could add that. Or if there's another medication, or let's say there's an allergy that you haven't told it about, you can edit and add and change that information however you want. The other thing that you can do is you can copy it. You can also download it. And so all this, if you are, say, going to see a new specialist or you're just meeting with somebody new and you just need a one page as a reminder when you're filling out the medical forms or something that you can hand to a new specialist, just summarizes everything that's been going on, this health profile is something you can use for that purpose.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, we use this again all the time. My mom, I think, has had 23 different medications. Her care team is massive, and the ability to keep all that organized is extraordinary. We know more about my mom's medical situation than anyone, right? Because again, you have so many different hospitals and doctors and nurses. It's just totally fragmented. We now all have it under one umbrella. There's a few examples. Paramedics came to get my mom. She got discharged, went home. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. She had to go back to the hospitals. When the paramedics arrived, we handed them this. So they walked in, and instead of walking in having no idea what they were dealing with, within minutes, they knew my mom's full story.
So I'm going to show you one more thing on the health profile. As you're having conversations, the AI will keep track of updates. So if you say, taking, I've stopped taking this medication. What's going to happen here is now, obviously, that got added to the care journal. The AI now is aware that you've stopped that medication. If I go back to the health profile right now, it is the same as it was before, but you'll see there's some new activity. There's some new conversations. There's a new journal entry. When you click update profile, what it's going to do is take whatever that new information is, it's going to take your existing profile and it's going to suggest edits. So in this case, I've told it that I've stopped taking this medication. So it's going to suggesting that I change that from active to discontinued. You can decide what of these edits you want to accept or reject. So it will do its best to find out what needs to change about your health profile. But again, just like everything in AretaCare, you're in control of the information. So I'm going to accept this. I'm going to apply the decision. And now if I come down, you can see that is now a discontinued medication. So you don't have to worry about keeping your health profile, everything up to date. It will, as you I'll talk to it, the AI will figure out how to do that for you. The other thing is, if you change something in this health profile, the AI will never overwrite that. So if you add an allergy, or if I was to go in and edit this information about the ER visit, the AI isn't going to try to overwrite what you did unless there's some new information. And if there is some new information, it's going to make a suggestion. It's not going to try to override it. So if you invest a bunch of time in filling out this health profile and trying to get everything exactly how you want it, the AI will try to make it better and improve it for you if that's helpful. If it's not helpful, you just never have to use those. So again, this is the core tenet of a rec here is you're in complete control of everything that's in here. The AI is just trying to help you. So those are a few of the more advanced features. The other things you'll see under tools, there's a jargon translator. And this is where you can enter information. So uh, I could do compound fracture, like say I heard that term. What does that mean? It will give you some information about what that is and translate that jargon. This may be one of those things you're like, well, why wouldn't I just use Google? Or why wouldn't I just use ChatGPT for something like this? The difference here is that it will tell you about
Yeah.
that term in the context of what you're doing. It understands you. It's not going to just give you some generic description of what that is. It's going to tell you what it is. And it'll also give you questions related to that term or how that might be relevant to what's going on in your life. So yes, you could do this with Google. You could do this with ChatGPT, but if you just want something translated in the context of your medical situation, your healthcare situation, you can use the jargon translator. And then the last feature I'll just show here is the conversation coach. I'm going to give an example of I'm going to say the nurse keeps coming in and waking me up at night. I'm not sleep. you can tell that spelling is not going to be critical here.
Yeah, you can
Uh,
use a microphone.
yeah, yeah, that's a good point. All right. So in this case, what it's going to do is it's going to help coach through that conversation and give you some ideas of how you might want to do this. Now, this is a relatively straightforward one where it's more I'm just asking for advice on how to have that discussion. But you can see it's saying, what checks do you need to do overnight? Which ones are time sensitive versus flexible? It'll give you some ideas about how to have that
Yep.
conversation. So instead of just saying, hey, you're waking me up all the time, it'll give you some advice as to how to have that. And I know this is another one that you use pretty frequently, Jason.
No, I like Robert. We can go through the audio recording as well, or we can do that later.
We can do the audio recording.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think I'll just tie them together because what'll happen, and this has happened so many times, it happened 2 days ago. I was on the phone with my mom. I can talk to her now, and the caseworker walked in. And so what I went in and I basically went to the tools that Rob just showed. I went to the conversation coaching and I said, the caseworker has walked into my mom's room. What do we ask her? And it literally laid out the questions. My mom then put the phone on record. We asked permission, can we record this? She said yes. And so we had a conversation with her, asking the various questions. At the end, we hit stop. I upload that recording to the audio recording that Rob can show in a second. And now that's part of AretaCare. That's part of the knowledge base. And I can take that and go back to conversation and just say, hey, can you provide a quick synopsis email? I can send my family on this caseworker visit.
So that was a very polite way of Jason reminding me that I forgot to show the audio recording. So to Jason's point, everything that you record in the conversation window with that record button gets captured here. And you can go back and you can listen to those recordings. So, for example, if you had a consult with the doctor and you recorded it, that will be available here and you can go back and listen to it. It will also create a transcript of that conversation. This was only 28 seconds, so there's not a lot of transcript here. But if you had a 15-minute conversation, it'll have a full transcript of that 15-minute conversation, and that's searchable here in the box and on the top. Let's say that you're in the hospital and you don't have AretaCare open on your phone. You're just all of a sudden the doctor stops by. You weren't expecting them to stop by, and you just in the moment record something on your phone using a voice memo or something like that. You can upload that
Yeah.
here. And it will be captured and it will accept up to 50 megabyte files. So they're fairly large audio files. Again, just like the documents, you don't have to wait for it to finish processing. You have to wait for it to upload, but you can walk away, do other stuff while it's processing, but it will keep all of that information available.
Yeah, and I'll give another example, Rob, because I think it's so important. Is my cousin Marcy's in Michigan. She's a nurse practitioner. I mean, and she's going to heaven. She's amazing. I would call her maybe on a ride home, or she'd call me, and we'd have a 15-minute conversation. I'd ask, "Can I record this?" She'd say yes. I'd record the conversation. I'd upload it to AretaCare, and so now all my family members can listen to my conversation with my cousin.
And I think that's a good transition to talking about collaboration because Jason's mentioned multiple times here that there are a lot of other people involved in his mom's care. It's not just Jason. One of the core things that we did in AretaCare is built in collaboration as a core function. So if you click on the collaboration tab, right now I just have one active session. I don't have anybody collaborating. If I want, I can invite people to work with me on AretaCare. So if I come in here and I do, test@test.com, obviously not a real email address, but if I do that, that person is not a current AretaCare member, but I can add them to the wait list and invite them to join AretaCare. So if you have somebody and you want them to help collaborate with you, but they don't have an AretaCare account, this is one way to invite them. If they already have an AretaCare account, I'm going to just use one of my other email addresses. When you do this, you'll see that the person's name and their email address is here. This is just a test account that we have. And it will ask whether or not you want to share the information. Now, the thing to remember in collaboration is when you collaborate with others, they see everything that you see. They have access to the same information, the same documents, same audio recordings, and they also have the ability to add information, edit it. So it truly is collaboration. This is important because this isn't just giving people limited access. Like, be very thoughtful about who you invite to collaborate because it is important. They are part of the care team and they're going to have a lot of involvement here. You're giving them access to a lot of information. So be very thoughtful about what you share and don't share and who you share it with. But it can be extremely powerful, like Jason was saying, because everybody's seeing the same information. So if I confirm and share here, what'll happen is that person will get an email saying you've been invited to this session and they're now a collaborator on that session. And you can at any time you can remove them with a single click if you want to remove them from the group. You can also, if let's say things are just getting really overwhelming, like in Jason's case, let's say Jason he is going to be gone for a week or something and just not going to be as involved, and he wants to assign ownership to his brother or somebody else in the family to just own the overall session while he's gone. You can make other people owners, and then they have the ability to delete sessions, rename things. They be to invite other collaborators. Like, they have the ability to manage the session for you. If you make somebody else an owner, you have to then ask them to make you the owner back. So again, just be thoughtful about who owns the session at any given time, but it's flexible that it allows you to assign that ownership.
Yeah, and again, I can't. This is my wife's favorite feature by far, and I can't overestimate it. We had family member went to see my mom a few weeks ago. She had no knowledge of anything. We added her under AretaCare. She became a collaborator. She was able to do a few minutes of research, and she walks in the hospital with full knowledge of my mom's situation. She then could basically use AretaCare to ask questions for the care team when they'd walk in. She recorded the conversations. She uploads them. She becomes an incredible advocate and as knowledgeable as any of us within seconds.
So the last piece that I'm just going to cover from the demo side, because I know we've gone through a lot here, is I want to just talk a little bit about the settings and what you can do under the settings tab. So this is where you can change your name. You can assign to a different email address. So if you decide, hey, actually, I want to use a different email address for all the communications, you can change that. You can change your password. So those are all pretty standard things. There's a couple of additional things down here, though, that may not be as self-explanatory. One is manage sessions, and this is where you can rename sessions and also delete sessions. So you can see up here in the corner, it's just called session one. Well, if I have three, four, five sessions, it's going to be hard to keep track of. Wait, was session one for my mother and session three was for me? So you can give the sessions different names by just clicking here, renaming, and I can call this one broken leg and save it. And now that session is called broken leg. And so that's how you can rename sessions and customize the session. The other thing that you can do in manage sessions is you can view all the information and delete. So you can see in this demo so far, we've had 12 different conversation messages exchanged. You can see 2 documents upload. There's been audio recording. There's a collaborator. This is where you can delete the session. Now, what this is something that I think is extremely important about AretaCare. When you delete a session, or down below, you can even delete your whole account. When you do that, the data is gone. Any documents you've uploaded, anything you've shared on the back end, we delete everything the moment that you click this button. There's nothing being used to train AI models. We're not holding that data back, and just in case, like, that data is gone. It's not going to some customer service person that now needs to approve the deletion. You control the data. You decide when we keep it and what we do with it. And so when you click delete, that is permanent. Now, that may sound scary because I think all of us have a little bit of hesitancy in our life of not wanting to delete something. We always might need it. But in this case, look, I just went through a session about a broken leg. Once my leg's better, I'm feeling better, life is back to normal. I just don't want to leave my documents and everything sitting in right here. We'll talk a little bit about security and all the things we've done to make sure everything's secure, but you just shouldn't leave stuff in there if you just don't need it. We don't want you to kind of just keep things around for the sake of keeping them around. So in this case, if I click delete, it's going to tell me. This is all the information. It is not recoverable. It is gone the minute that you click this. And when I click delete session, that's it. I'm back to the original session. So we built AretaCare to be help you in a very specific moment of your life. It's not ChatGPT. We don't expect you to be spending every day going here and doing random, things. This is for the really hardest moments of your life when you're dealing with a really complicated healthcare situation. You're dealing with lots of different providers and everything that's going on. And this is your platform for dealing with those situations. And hopefully, if you're fortunate in life, you're not going to have a lot of those situations. Now, I'll just wrap up. Look, right now, this is being supported and run, by Jason. Like I built this for Jason, but Jason is the one that made the decision to make this available to anybody that wants to use it. And one of the commitments that you'll see in our principles is the core platform. We want to make that available to anybody that needs it. We don't want you having to think about, do I sign up for a subscription? Where do I earn my credit card? We realize this is already a stressful situation, and both Jason and I have done well in life, and we want to make this available to people. Now, over time, look, if AretaCare becomes really, really useful to a lot of people, maybe we add some additional features or other things that do cost a lot of money to provide, in which case, maybe we will think about other ways of funding the development of the platform. But as of right now, our focus is on trying to help as many people as we can. Now, what that does have is, having something that's really powerful like a ride here that's free means we've had a lot of interest really quickly. So we've got a lot of people that signed up. What we've done is we've created a wait list. And so if you go to the RideCare site, if you don't have an account, you can join the wait list. Just tell us a little bit about what's going on. If you're just want to poke around, you don't really have an urgent need, tell us that. If you're in the middle of something that is really urgent, or let's say that you're invited or you have a family member that's on a RideCare and you're trying to get an account to join, tell us that too. We'll do our best to clear that waiting list in as quickly as we can. But we do want to make sure that we're taking all the steps and making sure that we're being responsible and supporting the people that are using it, because what we care about are the people that are on it and doing the best by them. We're not trying to grow this thing as quickly as possible to the biggest possible platform that can be. And then the only other point I'll make there is you'll see once you are in AretaCare, there's a feedback tab.
Yeah.
If you run into something and there's a bug or you have a suggestion, let us know. This was built. Jason was the feedback for this so far, and as more and more people are using it, you may have different preferences than Jason or different suggestions than Jason. So let us know, and we'd love to hear from you. And we really appreciate the help that you can give us in making AretaCare better and more useful and valuable to more and more families.